Welcome back, everybody, to the Geek Dad Report continuum coverage of Game of Thrones. Tonight we're going to be covering Episode 3, The Queen's Justice. And as always, this is going to be a full spoiler review. So if you have not watched it, go watch it quickly and then come back and check this out. Or if you just want things to be spoiled for you and you don't like surprises, well, stick around.
We don't mind telling you guys what's going on.
We like to spoil things. So, as always, I am Brian, the King of the West, the father of 2 dragons, the breaker of bottles, the caster of pods, the fan of the Hawks, and generally nice guy.
And I'm Brian. So, there's that.
All right, good to know. Well, on that note, I feel like we should just not even bury the lead on this one. The Queen's Justice gave us something that all of us Game of Thrones fans, whether you're just a show watcher or if you've read the books, all of us have been waiting for a very, very long time. The first meeting of possibly Fire and Ice, which we'll talk about in a second. Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen, Stormborn, first of her name,
Breaker
blonde of the hair,
silver, the unburnt,
dragon of the lady,
dragon of dragons,
slayer of Drago,
queen of the green grass sea,
leader of
Khaleesi,
the Junkless Men,
founder of Grayscale,
and
people,
and Jon Snow, King of the North.
Jon Snow. So, do we want to start off talking about that scene, that opening scene? Cause
which opening? You talking about when? Do you want to talk about when Jon meets? You know what? Let's dig right into it. We'll talk about all the fun little extra stuff. How did you feel? You read the books. You've been a fan of this property even longer than I have. How great was it watching Jon Snow walk into Dragonstone's throne room, and there is Daenerys sitting there waiting for him, looking all like super pompous.
In a weird way, it felt anticlimactic. It's like, because it's like both of these two sides have been building up, forever.
Yeah.
And you're just, in your heart of hearts, you want them to combine together. They're gonna walk up and high five each other, and they're gonna say, "Yeah, let's go kick somebody's ass," and then. But no, that's not how it was. Dany has a chip on her shoulder, a big ass chip on her shoulder.
Yeah, well,
and Jon he's like, I'm just fucking here to kill dead. I need to go kill undead. You hear?
Jon is Jon.
All right, I'm out.
Okay. And to be fair, we are privy to information they are not privy to. Like, for instance, we know that Jon is a Targaryen, not a Stark. Well, I guess he's kind of a Stark too. But
yeah.
He's, his father was her brother. So we know the connection. They don't know the connection. We've seen what each one of these characters has gone through, which is a shit ton of things, Khaleesi Dany does a great job of kind of just spelling out everything she's gone through, and how dare Jon show up and treat her like she's just some common lord of the North, or whatever.
Yeah.
She's
just been sitting around in the East, just kind of, sitting, not doing anything, and just hanging out, waiting for her time.
Yeah, she's been busting her ass. She's been
literally got her ass busted.
Yeah, literally got her ass busted. She's been sold, traded, raped, defied. All these. She goes through this long list of things she does. Now, I thought it was perfect that Davos, the Onion Knight, was the guy who steps up, because Jon's just like, in typical Jon Snow fashion, I ain't got time for this shit. I got other, things to deal with. Yeah. So Davos is the one who steps up, and he's like, he's been through this, and he became, king of the Lord of the Night Watch, and he's fought the White Walkers on the other side of the wall, and he brought the wildlings in, and he got stabbed in the heart by his own men for his trouble, and Jon's like, no, let's
Davos, no.
Let's which is weird. You know what? I really thought that Jon Snow being the Lord, the King of the Night, or the Lord of the Night Watch, being stabbed to death and then resurrected, you figured that news would get out. Like, people would hear about that. Like, it's something people would talk about. But apparently no.
Apparently not.
Nobody knows that I've been stabbed in the heart.
That has not left the North. That's a pretty sexy Jon Snow there.
Like that. Side note, Funko, if you guys would like to sponsor our show, I would love to, or just send me all the season 7 or 5 or any season Game of Thrones figures. Look at that sweet bad boy. He's even got the man bun. Look at that, and the Stark armor. Look at that. Game of Thrones people, not sponsored. Just get them because we love them. Season 7, yes. Jon Snow is now available from Funko on Amazon. Look at that sword.
I think you can get the dragons too now.
Yeah, I might. Damn nuts! Sorry, there's a bug flying around my head. What?
So as we're saying, so Davos, I really like the scenes that he has in here, like especially when he's trying to like be all friends with Sandra, as they're walking up from the beach. You know, he's trying to just do small talk and stuff like that. And
yeah,
you feel like Dany and her crew really does have a huge chip on their shoulder.
Well, like they have gone. Well, like we were just mentioning, they've both gone through so much. So both sides have a huge chip on their shoulder. You know, Dany's gone through all this, and she knows she's the rightful heir of the throne. But at the same time, Jon's gone through everything he's gone through, and he knows that it doesn't fucking matter because when the White Walkers come down, everyone's going to be dead, right? And I kind of like how he's like, we're all just...
He's like, I'm not bending the knee. I got some bigger shit to worry about.
Well, I love when she's like implicating bending the knee, and he's just like, oh, God, are we at this again, you know? And I love the little interaction when they're bringing up the histories of both their families, right? And they're just, it was such a great scene because neither one of them are willing to budge an inch, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of like that.
She's trying to say, like, you know, your family swore fealty, you know, forever. And he's like, well,
they did
technically,
until your dad burned him alive.
he's like, yeah, technically you guys kind of voided that. And
then she apologized, which was nice. You know what it felt like? It felt almost like my children when they're fighting over something and they have to have people be like, well, you did this. Well, yeah, well, you did this. Or the whole scene felt like an awkward first date almost to an extent, right?
And then you need that one friend who can kind of tell you like, dude, just be cool.
Yeah,
right?
be cool. They're both they're both kind of young and sexy. I don't think either one of them expected that.
Just tell her what you really want, man. That's all you gotta do. Just tell her what you really want. She'll give you all that dragon glass.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
she'll let you mine. She'll just let you mine it, and you can just mine it and get out.
Tyrion and Davos had some great scenes in this whole thing. Just kind of the guys behind the scenes working this to try and make this happen. And Tyrion especially. He had so many failures in this episode, which we'll talk about in a minute. But it was good to see this was not one of his... Even in defeat, he still knows how to talk. And he's still a smooth talker. And he knows how to accomplish. And I like that they brought, you know, him and... I love how him and Jon's relationship really just picked right up where it left off in the first season, you know. They had a kindred spirit in season 1, and it was good to see that still there, right? They both have a lot of faith in each other, a lot of trust, even though they don't know each other that well. But there's something there that they both realize that, hey, this is my people. This is like a good person. This is somebody I can trust and deal with. So that was cool to see that brought back and them kind of joking about with themselves. But
when you stand on the edge of a 500-foot wall and you piss off it with someone, you kind of, you know, you were like bros for life.
Well, I like how they reunited again. Well, I mean, there was a lot of scenes they had, but one of the scenes that I love when they go, Jon's out there sulking, you know, brooding because Jon broods. And Tyrion comes up to, once again, a giant cliff to brood, and they're having this great conversation on another cliff, basically. And I love that Tyrion's like, I came to brood, but even I can't brood as well as you brood. No one broods better than Jon Snow.
It's like I've never seen such great brooding before.
It was like Tyrion is he just found out that his one half of his battle plan with the Greyjoy, with the fleet going down to pick up the Dornish people, it just failed miserably. So he was coming to brood and of course Jon's already brooding because he's just like, but I wanted Dany to come up north and kill shit with their dragons. And it didn't work out. And I think it was such a great dialogue because it was basically like, you know, you see that Jon, even though he's learned so much, is still learning, right? So is Dany. These two forces have hit each other. Now, like, what do we do, right? And so, you know,
it takes Tyrion to say, just tell us what you really need.
Yeah,
and then we can help you. You know, then you can get the fuck. And then he talks to Dany and said, "Hey, the dragon glass, it's worthless. Well, we don't need it for anything. Just let him have it and get some goodwill, Because
it's a great,
as you find out later, her allies.
Yeah, it's a great icebreaker. It's something that they can build on to. I mean, come on, let's be honest. These two eventually are going to become allies. There's no way that doesn't happen, especially with everything that's going on right now in Westeros and things that aren't happening in Dany's favor. Jon and Dany are destined to who knows what, but work together on some level or be together or some level. The last of the Targaryens are going to work together, and nothing else spelled that out more than when we got a great scene with Melisandre. I know last week we talked about how is that gonna play out when she's there at Dragonstone when Davos and Jon, who both don't like her, what would happen? And I liked how they handled it. It was very quick. She just distanced herself. Her and Varys had a great
She
scene.
knew it was coming. She knew that she did not need to get seen there.
That is one thing that I actually really like about this season. Everyone seems to be much smarter about things, right? Like, they understand things much better. Like, not to jump ahead, but there's a scene when, in this episode, like, Sansa just keeps continually slapping Littlefinger to the side because she sees right through his bullshit, right? And everybody just sees through each other's bullshit in this, and they just cut to the point, right? And that's one thing I really liked with Melisandre. She knew where she stood with this group, and she just was like, I'm taking myself out. I've played my part. And and Varys doesn't like her either, which rightfully so. I believe it was the Lord of Lights that cut off his junk when he was a child.
Yeah,
anyway,
it was one of those people.
Yeah, so he has no fondness for them, and he doesn't like Melisandre. But I love the fact that he's feeling all pompous, and she's like, I've played my part. I'm leaving, and I'll come back. And he's like,
she's going back to Volantis, which is where that's like started. And in the books, she's been using like magic. She's been using like powders and all these kind of things to make all the magic stuff happen that she's been doing. So that's how she's been able to make like these big huge like fires and been doing all the things because she's been hiding out all these magic powders.
So do you think she's going back there to restock for one big magic?
I think she's going back there to like restock and to just kind of like recharge her powers before she comes back. I think she's gonna come back and she's gonna have like
final big moment.
I don't want to say redemption because she's for burning the kids and stuff.
Well, I like how she's gonna
come back and have like some major Lord of Light.
Well, and I did like. You're right. There's no redemption, but I like how she acknowledges that. She's not looking for redemption, right? She knows she's done horrible things, and she's been wrong, and she can't be forgiven. But she still has a part to play, and I like how she's like, oh, I'll be, Varys is like, I wouldn't come back, or, you won't find a warm welcome. And she's like, oh, I have to come back. I'm destined to die here. And he kind of smiles, and she's like, as are you.
Well, and she's both saying, well, we're just commoners, we don't have any major... We don't have any major, end game here. We're both just gonna die. That's what they're. She said,
but that didn't feel like we're just gonna die. I felt like that seemed like a prophecy. Like she knew this was coming. Like she had seen something and she knows what's happening. That felt very much with only 10 episodes left to go. That felt more like a this is gonna happen versus like a I think this is gonna happen. Right?
It feels weird that there's that timetable now. There's only just so many episodes left.
We have one full season of Game of Thrones left. Let that sink in. It sucks. What are we got a podcast about? Oh my god. Have to start talking about like The Walking Dead or something. I don't know. Well, there'll be more Game of Thrones. I think there's I think they actually officially announced that the Game of Thrones spinoff is going to take place 1 year after the end of Game of Thrones. So we'll have more Game of Thrones.
They're going to do it. That's what they're going to do? I didn't hear about that.
No. I mean, like, sorry, it's not the time period. Isn't that? It's just that the new show was going to come on a year after.
Okay. I was like, what? They're going to pick up a year later?
Yeah, I heard it's about Jon Snow. Spoiler alert. No, so, but the big thing that she mentioned there, so the big game-changing thing with that conversation, though, was that she officially, for the very first time on this show, said that she played her part where she brought together fire and ice. So we've all speculated that Daenerys and Jon Snow are the fire and ice, that the Song of Fire and Ice, that this whole series is about. But now we know for a fact that this is... I mean, I guess it's not fact. She just said it, but this is the first in my mind. To me, this is with only 10 episodes left, this is the show confirming that that they are fire and ice. These two are going to be here at the end game. I don't know what part they play, but...
That's what the cover of the very first book has meant. The Game of Thrones, A Song of Fire and Ice. It's about Dany and Jon Snow.
So, on a little side note, I don't want to go too much on a tangent, but on the Fire and Ice thing, I have a little theory. I wanted to bring it up last week as something that I forgot to talk about with the revelation in last week's episode. But I feel like it's relevant, and I want to throw this theory at you. Now, this isn't all me. I've heard some other fan theories that kind of tie into this. But this is what I've heard plus what I've seen in this episode and what I think this could be, and this might even be the final shock that they had one more big surprise for all of us. So there's been a long-running fan theory that Samuel Tarly is actually telling the story. That this is actually a book, basically written by Sam telling the story of the Game of Thrones. Partly because of his importance.
Fucking Game of Thrones Inception.
Yeah, kind of, right? Some of the fan theories that has fed in this in the past is that George R. R. Martin has many times said that if he saw himself as any character, it was Sam. And that Sam is always such a pivotal. He's always there with these real pivotal moments in the Game of Thrones and everything else like that. What really got people going was last week's episode. There's a moment where he's training with the High Maester, and the High Maester's putting together a book. All the history of all the wars going on after Robert's Rebellion, right? And he's like, if he's talking about how you have to spice up your book if you want people to read. If you want to write a history, you have to make it saucy. You have to spice it up a little bit. He goes, who's going to read my Robert Rebellions and the wars that follow? And Sam's like, that's not a very good name for that. And he's like, would you like something? He's like, I don't know. I feel like it should be a little more poetic, right? He didn't quite say it should be it should be Game of Thrones, right? But he kind of led to that, right? Now, here's where I think there could be some validity to this. If he is writing this story, right? So if he's writing a Game of Thrones, The Song of Fire and Ice, number one, that does sound very much like a story, like he's hinting to, a very romantic title to a history of Westeros, right? Mm-hmm. If that's true, this is a Song of Fire and Ice, that means that either Jon or Daenerys do end up on the throne, or they put whoever is on the throne, because if they are not the end game, if they are not alive when this book is finished, or Sam is reading it, or at least play the major role in this whole thing, it wouldn't be about a Song of Fire and Ice, it would be about the Mad Queen Cersi, or it would be called Game of Thrones, Cersei's whatever. Now, if you think of it from that perspective, okay, it makes sense that the title is A Song of Fire and Ice. If that is the title that Sam is a book that Sam is writing, then that does mean that Daenerys and Jon both play a massive role in the very end game of this. Maybe they don't survive, but it probably means one or both of them end up on the throne of Westeros, and you're hearing from their perspective, right? Because, like, for instance, this is like the Maester was going to write it after the Robert's Rebellion, right? The story always is about the people that end up ruling and what the aftermath of that. No one's going to write about like the Tullys or
they're not going to write about who lost. Yeah, exactly. They're going to write about the winners.
This isn't going to be about the Game of Thrones. Ned Stark lost his head and all the shit that happens afterwards, right? It's about the main people, Robert's Rebellion. Even though Robert had such a small part in this series, the fact that the Maester would call this whole thing Robert's Rebellion and the aftermath that followed, Robert's death, just goes to show that the main important people that get into the titles are the people who are at the end, right? The major players in this whole event. So, if you look into that theory, now think of it this way. What is, when the show starts and it shows every little bit of town popping up, we've always thought that was really cool and a great way of telling us what we're about to expect, right? It's almost like a storyteller is telling us the next chapter in the book that they're reading, right? Now, think about where the show always starts from. What does it always start from? It always starts from that sun, right? Yeah. That's spinning.
It's spinning around, and then it goes around.
And then it goes down into, and then it tells the story. All the little wooden things pop up and the towers, and then we get into the story, right? The next chapter. Well, where did we see the suns, all those exact same suns last year? In the library of the Citadel, where Sam is currently studying.
The sun was always in there?
It's in there, yeah. So in the library of the Citadel, in the very top, is a giant spinning orb that looks like the sun. It's that beginning piece that we see at the very beginning of the show. So what if what if this entire show is Sam retelling the Game of Thrones, The Song of Fire and Ice, Dany and Jon's story of how they defeated the White Walkers, Westeros, and everything that happened in between?
That's, I would be really. I don't know. That seems like an anticlimactic way of doing it, but I guess it makes sense from a standpoint of what we've been seeing with Sam. I mean,
Yeah.
The maester at the very end of his little scene, he's like, all right, here's some old books and scrolls, get writing. So maybe there could be that's just kind of how he gets to, rewriting all the scrolls and manuscripts and stuff that he's doing, and maybe that's how he might go on to that.
What does this have to do for the whole show? Not really much. I mean, other than it would be, the only spoiler would be if this is true, Sam lives. We still don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
as long as it's not like Sam wakes up and it was a dream or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest. Danny and Jon may save the entire realm and then could die. You'd still write a Song of Fire and Ice. If they're the ones who save the realm and bring prosperity to it, even with their sacrifice, the story would still be about them. So I don't think it gives away any major spoilers except for the fact that it would just mean that Sam lives. But I'm starting to get the overwhelming feeling that Sam is going to make it through this whole thing anyway. He feels like that. He feels like that type of character.
Yeah, Sam seems to be one of those. He's a pivotal character, but he's so far away, removed from everything now, that he has no option but to live.
Well, and honestly, we had thought that maybe Sam, when last week he did the grayscale, he tried to cure Jorah. We thought maybe that was going to be the entry for Sam and Jorah to maybe meet up again with Jon and Daenerys.
Yeah,
but that was
not the case now.
Yeah, that was completely blown out of the water. It looks like Jorah is completely cured from his Dragonstone. We find out this grayscale that we find this episode, and Sam is saying his goodbyes, and he's staying. He's staying with the Maester service.
Well, I found it interesting that even the Archmaester is completely surprised that Sam was able to figure it out, to do it.
How great was it though when he's like, "How did you do it? How did you do it? No one could do it. How did you do it?"
He's like, "Well, I read it and I followed the instructions." I think there's something to him that he's not leading on to.
Yeah, I think so. Like he's some kind of a hidden power or something.
I don't know if he's got a hidden power, but maybe just like a certain kind of insight that he's able to, process stuff in a different way that he can completely understand it. I mean, he wasn't even looking at the book or anything like that when he was working on Jorah.
I also think I think with Sam, you don't have hidden agenda, right? He takes everything as it is and doesn't try and be more than what he is. So maybe guys in the past read the instructions and they think they know more and they try and do it their own way. Where Sam has always been, I'm going to do it the way it's supposed to be done, right? That's the way he's always been. He's not brave. He just does what he has to do in the moment, and maybe that's his greatest strength. He listens and does what he's supposed to do. But I don't know. Do you have any real quick? I don't want to spend too much time on Jorah, but do you have any predictions? I mean, clearly he's going to go try and reunite with Khaleesi.
I think Jorah's going to end up taking over Tyrion's spot as strategist of the armies. What do you think? I think Tyrion will still be hand. There's definitely a place for that. But from my understanding of the books and everything, the hand doesn't really do a lot of the military strategy. They kind of have someone who's more in charge of that. So, I mean, as smart as Tyrion is and stuff like that, I think he's more better as a kind of like what he did in Marine. He was more of a developer. He's good at he's an advisor. He's good at working with people and stuff like that. I don't think military strategy is going to be his thing. Well, but I think Jorah's going to come there, and Jorah's going to end up taking over a lot of the military strategy.
Well, funny you should mention that, because in this episode, 2 episodes ago, we thought, hey, Daenerys is here. Tyrion's got a plan. Sounds great. How is Cersei going to stop him? And now we found that Tyrion is pretty much not a great strategist and has been outthunked by his brother pretty much at all turns.
And to be honest, Jaime owes it all to Bran.
I thought that was
What's his name? God.
Rob. I thought it was a great callback when Jaime kind of tricks, when he says, "Oh, you tricked your brother," and Jaime says, "Well, I did learn a few things." He goes, "Say what you want to about Rob. He was pretty smart. I did learn a few things from him." I like how Jaime's now become the seasoned veteran. When we saw him in the very beginning, he's this hot-headed, great swordsman, but not really that smart. Now he's really taken everything he's learned and become a really good strategist. But before we get into Highgarden, which is Jaime's endgame, I love the scene when Tyrion, he just finds out that, hey, by the way, Euron's punk ass destroyed his entire, half the fleet. and ruined his Dornish plan. But hey, you know what? We still got Casterly Rock. We're going to take it. And I love that we finally got to see Casterly Rock for the first time. And then we see it, and I love the overlay. So we see the whole battle unfold. It goes pretty fast, but we get to listen to Tyrion kind of basically, it's almost like an Ocean's 11 thing where he's saying his plan as it happens, right?
And he kind of cocky as he's telling it. Like, he kind of, like
they're not going to see what's coming.
Yeah, it's like, they pointed me, this in the sewers because, that's about as low as you can go. And he's like, well, that's where I took all my whores and stuff.
Well, guess what? I made a back door, trap door, and guess what? I'm going to sneak everybody in. And it shows this great scene. You're like, finally, Daenerys is going to get a win. And then Grey Worm gets there and is like, where is all the soldiers? And then he looks out into the ocean, and fucking somehow time travel in Euron has brought his entire fleet over and is now decimated all of Grey Worm's ships, so they cannot get back to Dragonstone.
Shooting rockets.
Yeah, like bazookas.
Like,
I will say this, though. The one thing I did like about that is it did a good job of showing us how... Because I know last week we talked about, like, is Yara and Theon's, like... They're just the worst sailors and worst fighters ever because they got snuck up on and they just got completely decimated by Euron's fleet. But when Grey Worm's looking down, you get a really good view of how big and crazy... Euron ships are compared to the regular Greyjoy ships, right? He's got these like massive battleships.
Well, and how long has it been? It takes time to build those kind of ships. I mean, they had all the ships were stolen.
Well, that does speak into the one issue I've had a little bit with this season and even last season, and a lot of people are really. I think people need to just deal with it and move on because we're still getting some great storytelling. But for the first 4 or 5 seasons. If a character had to go 10 miles, it took them 3 episodes to get there. Now we literally have people sailing around in Westeros, like completely around Westeros in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, and so Theon's ships were on their way to Dawn. I don't want to get too far ahead if we don't want to get into the King's Landing stuff, but he captures them, goes to King's Landing, leaves King's Landing. I mean, isn't Casterly Rock like on the other side of the continent?
It is on the other side of the continent. Now I thought about that. I was actually.
So you have to go all the way down around Dorne.
So Euron was in King's Landing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So I do have a theory on this, and this is where I think could make up some of this time, make a little more sense. I actually went to a map. Ever since they've been time jumping so much and not really explaining where people are coming from, it's been easy to get confused of where everything is. So I actually downloaded a map onto my iPhone, so as I watch the episode, I can kind of like, okay, here's here, and it makes sense. Now, if you look, Casterly Rock is only a stone's throw away from the Iron Islands. So what I'm wondering is if he had another part of his fleet at the Iron Islands and sent them down to Casterly Rock, and that's what took out all the ships. Because it didn't look like a massive Greyjoy fleet. It looked like a smaller fleet that just decimated all the transport ships. So I think that is what happened. I think Euron kept some ships at the Iron Islands, so I think Euron's got ships on both sides of Westeros, and that's how he's able to move so fast.
Yeah, because for people that don't know, this is Westeros, so you got Dorne all down there. So obviously you can't go all the way around. I mean, that's...
Yeah, Dorne's at the very bottom. So what we saw last week was in the Narrow Sea, which is south of Dragonstone. But, you know what, I think this all comes back to, I think one of the things that we've seen, well, we'll talk about this in a second. One of the things that we've seen is if everybody would listen to Yara, Dragonstone is only like right across the way from King's Landing. Had they just done what Yara wanted and just bombarded King's Landing, they would already own it at this point. But instead, like Lady Olenna said, I've seen a lot of clever men plot clever things and they're all dead and I'm still alive, right? And, that kind of leads us to what happened. Where was everybody? Where were the Lannisters not at Casterly Rock? Well, funny enough, they were at Highgarden, which is basically in the middle of Westeros. And speaking of Lady Olenna, they apparently the Lannisters always pay their debts because a guy from Bravo showed up and says, you owe us money from the Iron Bank. And she's like, we got you covered. So
just stay a fortnight. We'll pay you in debt. We'll pay you in full.
How are they going to pay them? They straight Jack moved. Highgarden. Yeah. And all of a sudden they look out and guess what? Here's the entire Lannister army and all the people they've got together, basically the Westeros army, and they just freaking... I like they didn't even show the battle because it was so one-sided. And they just... I do like how it showed them counting all their gold. They just robbed.
And
Rob,
Tyrell's not really, they're not known for being the greatest fighters. And that's why the best part of that scene was like, where she asked Jaime, so how did we do? And, we fought well, and he's all like, as could be expected. It's like...
To set up that scene, this is, in my opinion, one of the best scenes I've seen in a long time. I think this is Lady Olenna's best scene, maybe of the entire series. She knows death's, she's lost her castle, but she's already lost her family. She's literally lost everything, right?
And that was Sam's dad, wasn't it? That was with him?
That was what?
Wasn't that Sam's dad that was with him too?
Yeah, Sam's dad. We figured out what side
he ended up turning, being a traitor.
Yep, he'll be the warden of the South. But now, the best, you got Jaime coming in, and he comes in and talks to Olenna, and you know what? He's always kind of respected her. You could tell he's always respected her as a person, and she knows she's about to die, and like you said, she asks, do we fight well? And he's like, as well as be expected. And she goes, well, that's what we get for being the Golden Rose. We're not really known for our fighting skills. And she's like, well, she's very much accepted her fate, but she has this one last scene that she has to own, and she does, right? Jaime's like, I take, my sister wanted to. She's like, well, how's it going to be? Are you going to kill me slow, or you're going to drag me back? And he's like, well, Cersei wanted to kill you lots of ways, but I talked her down, and now it's going to be quick and painless. And she's like, well, I appreciate that, because Jaime's feeling all like, I got you. I'm not going to be a dick about it, right?
Yeah. And this also shows just how fucked up Cersei is.
Yeah, she grabs the poison, and she fucking chugs it super fast, and as soon as she does, she drops the bomb on him. That, by the way, I fucking killed your son. Boom.
Yeah, I poisoned him. He was a cunt. And
he was a piece of shit. And you know what? Even though even she is one of the greatest characters of any show ever, because even in her death, she still manages to win. Not only does she not face a horrible death, she gets the death that she really wants to anyway. She gets to land that last blow to Cersei. Oh, yeah, by the way, I killed your son. And two...
Well, and she's like, make sure you tell her that, And she's like, oh, I didn't know the poison was going to act like, it was going to make him turn purple. And his eyes was like,
I loved every minute of it.
She's like, I've never seen it happen before, but it was so great.
And
Jaime's just like, fuck. You can just see, he's just
even more important than the fact that she has stabbed this one last dagger into Cersei, she's now putting even some doubt into Jaime. She's like, you have to know that she's a poison, that she's going to destroy everything. And I thought it was really cool that you see Jaime's rationale for why. Not only does he love his sister, he really believes that once everything's done, she will be a good queen. But then he's also thought forever that Tyrion killed his son, and now he knows the truth, right? So I think you're starting to see that crack maybe. This may be the first little bit of news that puts a little bit of crack in Jaime and Cersei that I think is going to eventually lead to. I still believe Jaime's going to kill Cersei at some point.
He's going to be the one that kills her.
Yeah. I think it's too poetic to not have it happen.
Now, what if Lady Tyrell doesn't die? She's obviously dead.
She's dead. But it was just such a great scene. It was so well acted. And there was so much that happened in just that little moment that it was just massive for the show. So kudos to both those actors. It was great. I don't know. Do you want to talk? Do you want to go King's Landing, or you want to have to Winterfell real quick?
I just want to say one more thing really quick on the flip side of Jaime. So the Unsullied is basically all in Castle Rock right now.
Yeah.
And their major decision is, I don't think they really have any way of communicating with Dany.
Do they know how to send a raven?
I don't know. Do they have it?
I'm sure Castle Rock has ravens.
Well, it seemed like they kind of killed everybody.
Well, I also liked how Jaime. I liked how Tyrion was like, they'll defend Castle Rock to the last man because it's the home of the Lannisters, and Jaime's like, whatever. There's nothing to value there anymore.
And even Olenna's like, you guys got no gold left. The Lannisters basically have nothing now. Like all they have, they're just clinging on to their name.
Well, no, they have a lot now. They took everything from the Tyrells.
Well, yeah, there's that, but
they don't have the gold. Landing.
Yeah, and they don't have the gold mines anymore, though. That's like where their real source of power was.
Well, now they have all that Tyrell money, and they have most of Westeros. So, but yeah, I mean, to your point, you've got Dany's army, who's completely cut in half now.
Yeah, so all she really has now. What is she going to send it Unsullied? That's what I want. Are they going to go north?
tell you what. We can talk about it now, or we can talk about it next week, because I think Dany's about to just lose her shit, hop on a dragon, and go for a ride. She's about to start launching fire
we'll get
people.
there.
So I think that's what we're going to see next week. I'm not really sure exactly what's going to happen with the Unsullied. Half of her forces are cut off. She's got the Unsullied on one side. All she has now is her Dothraki protecting her. That's why I think. Remember last week when I said I do not think Jon Snow will be back at Winterfell this season? I really don't. I think that Jon Snow will be in Dragonstone. I think next week Daenerys gonna do something real rash. She's gonna get herself into a bit of trouble, and I think Jon Snow's gonna have to go help her. And I think that's what's gonna form this bond between the two of them that eventually, gets them to.
John's gonna fucking high five a dragon and hop on his back.
Could happen. There is a dragon named after his father.
Yes.
Well, I guess that brings us to our next thing, Winterfell.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
What?
I said let's not take it too far ahead, though.
Yeah. Well, let's talk Winterfell for a second. There were some big things that happened. One of the big things that happened was that Bran finally was reunited with Sansa. He made his way to Winterfell, and I love the scene.
I got a little tingly. Because I knew she was going to see someone. So I didn't know if it was going to be Bran or Arya, but I kind of had to figure it was going to be Bran. But I was like, I got kind of tingly. I was just like, she's probably going to see one of her.
She was so happy, and he was just like, have you seen Jon? He's like, I gotta talk to Jon. I got some shit I gotta tell him.
It's like, well, you're the Lord of Winterfell now. But no, Jon's the king of the North, bitch. He can't just
she was real
king.
Quick to hand it off. She's like, you're the last trueborn son. And he's like, I can't be Lord of anything. I'm the three-eyed raven. She's like, what?
Yeah, it's like, what's a three-eyed raven? Like, well, I learned it from the other three-eyed raven. Like, well, I thought you were the He's like, it's complicated.
And then, he starts talking about her fucking wedding where she's raped horribly.
Yeah. Jon is like, Bran is like, he's really chillax. He's kind of like
the Matrix.
He's all like, he turned into the Matrix. Is that what you said?
Yeah, he's like a robot program now. He's not even a person anymore. He's the Lord of Light. I'm telling you, he's the Lord of Light. I'm calling it. I knew that. I called that shit a long time ago. But yeah, he's so disconnected. And Sansa's like, she's all excited, and then finally she's like, I gotta go. I got shit to do.
Yeah. But I gotta go fucking slap Littlefinger around.
Yeah, which, is great. She continues to slap him around. It makes me happy just watching. Every time Littlefinger tries to say...
She's doing something in the shadows, though.
Well, I think it shows how crazy his character is. Like, how shitty does it go through life when he's like, you can't just think of your enemies. You have to think of your friends. And you have to think of what will be and what has been and what could happen. And he goes, and you have to play it all in your mind. I'm like, Jesus, dude, take a fucking Xanax.
Yeah. And she just kind of like... She's been doing a really good job at, like, ruling. She's, like, getting all, the food and the hay and, and all that stuff.
Well, I thought they did a good job of pointing out how, like, she's actually a pretty good leader. Like, she really is who needs to be in charge of Winterfell. Like, Jon is just like, I gotta kill shit. She's, she's actually like, here, let me actually make decisions that make sense and do things for the people. But so real quick to Littlefinger, I don't want to move on. I don't want to move on too fast. He didn't have much this scene, but I'm really starting to get the feeling that Littlefinger is a goner, right? I feel like he's been spinning his wheels, doing the exact same thing, just waiting for somebody. I'm going to say Arya to show up and just murder him dead.
No, I think Littlefinger still has some kind of major point to make. I haven't really put a finger on what it is, but
the only point he has to make is the point of the dagger that's going to get stabbed in his chest. Listen, here's my theory real quick before we move on. I think he's going to find out that Bran's in town and that he's talking about he can see it all. Well, there's nobody who should be more afraid of someone seeing everything than Littlefinger. And I think he's going to try and kill Bran, and then I think Arya's going to show up and stab Littlefinger.
Are the Knights of the Vale all still there, or did they go back?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I know Littlefinger's around, but I don't know how much of the...
They're probably just circling Winterfell on their horses just nonstop, because it seems like all they do is just ride around on horses.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know. More on Littlefinger. I think next week, though, could spell the end of Littlefinger. I'm calling it right now. We'll see. I don't know. Anything else on Winterfell other than Bran? I mean, I think Bran... do you think Bran's going to tell everybody before he tells Jon, or do you think we're not going to...
No, he's going to wait for Jon to get back.
I'm getting the feeling... Are you getting the feeling... I'm getting the feeling that, like I said, I don't think Jon's going to make it back to Winterfell this season. I'm getting the feeling that Jon isn't going to find out about his heritage until next season.
That makes sense. Like, he's going to, find out he's been kissing his cousin.
Oh, God. Is that going to be Are we going to wait until, it's going to be, a year from now when he finally gets back to Winterfell and him and Daenerys are just, a thing. They're married.
Like, oh man, I've been making out with my cousin.
Yeah, it's his aunt.
His aunt.
He's gonna be like, and Bran's like, Jon, I got something to tell you. And he's like, shit, you couldn't have sent a raven? What the fuck?
Say, don't fuck your aunt.
Yeah, funny story. You've been boning your aunt.
She's your aunt.
And Daenerys would be like, it's a Targaryen thing. She'll have a shirt that says, it's a Targaryen thing.
No,
all right, well, we've spent long enough talking about everything else. What?
Waiting for Bran to, like, touch the heart tree and, like, warg into it or something.
I feel like we're due for a flashback, right? We gotta have a flashback, right?
We're definitely due for, like, either a flashback or he's gonna do, like, some kind of, like, flash of, like, where the undead or the army's at.
Yeah.
'Cause I think the Night's Watch is kind of too integral in everything. They're gonna have. I don't want to jump too far ahead to what we're guessing what's gonna happen. But
I think I get this feeling. I get this really strong feeling that this season is not gonna wrap up in a way that feels like a normal season, right? I'm really thinking they're playing. I feel like they're playing these last 13 episodes, these last 2 seasons as one season, and I feel like we could get. I mean, it's possible we could get, you know, a main character death like a Cersi or something. But these stories feel like they're much broader than only, because there's only 4 more episodes. I don't feel like anything's going to get really wrapped up in the next 4 episodes. I think some of the smaller characters could die. Some of the secondary, like I said, you could see characters like, I mean, in this episode, think about it now. We've already lost the Dornish people, for the most part, are out of it. We've lost the Freys, they're out of it. The Tyrells are now out of it. They were the second richest house in all of Westeros.
Well, have you noticed how on the map thing it's only showing Winterfell, King's Landing, Dragonstone, and do they even show the wall anymore?
Yeah,
no, I think they still show the wall, and I think that's it.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think by the end of the season, you're going to have just the few main pieces. I used to think that Cersi was going to be the main death at the end of this, but I don't think that's going to get wrapped up until next season. I think it's all coming to a culmination. I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but it definitely feels like her story isn't going to end in four episodes, right? So I'm not really sure what's going to happen yet. But anyway, but speaking of Cersi, we'll kind of end. This episode was the Queen's Justice, and they were talking about Cersi in this episode because Cersi came down with furious vengeance and great anger on all those who tried to destroy her brothers.
No, not just like fucked up. Like, I'm going to fucking make you do some...
Mad Queen Cersi.
I think she's probably worse, honestly.
Dude,
I mean, at least that guy he just fucking set people on fire.
Her revenge against Alaria Sand was worse than I thought it could be. And I thought she might, like, roast her alive or... No, it was even worse than that. What could be worse than being, like, skinned alive or roasted? How about this?
If you're a parent, and I thought about this from the perspective of a parent, I would try and cut my own heart out with my fingers, you know?
Yeah.
But
so
I can't imagine it.
She does the same thing to Alaria's only remaining daughter that Alaria did to her daughter.
So she poisoned her with the exact same poison.
The kiss of poison. Except for she chained them up apart from each other and is going to make her watch her daughter die and then watch her corpse rot.
Yeah. And she's going to keep her alive. She said, we'll force feed you. Yeah, we're going to keep you alive.
We're going to keep the lights on.
And you're going to sit here and you're going to watch your daughter's face collapse. And
until all she's left
and
is
I
gone.
would just like, as a parent, I was just like, dude.
Well, and then the look they share, the look those two shared, the Alaria and her daughter, and then they like try to reach each other and they're just inches from being able to touch. You know, I will say this: it was a little bittersweet. I mean, you felt bad for her, but let's not lie. She killed.
She fucking had it coming.
Very innocent daughter. She did nothing, but she killed her.
She killed the King of Dorne.
Yeah. She killed the king.
She killed the prince.
It coming. We've talked on the show at length the last week about consequences. About when you do something, you better believe shit's coming back on you 10 times fold, right? And that's what happened here. So, but I mean, it's still pretty fucking awful. I mean, seriously, she's just like, fuck it, I don't give a shit. I mean, like now she's boning her brother in front of people, and she's just like, I don't care. I'm the queen. I do what I want.
So, like, he's like, don't you... And she's like, all right, do you want to come in and watch me bone my brother? Because that's basically what she was doing.
Well, and you know she's got every girl in Westeros now has to have the fucking Joffrey haircut.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they all got the short, like, I don't know, boy band look going on. But yeah, she's just, you know what? I will give her props though. This episode felt a lot like Empire Strikes Back, because the beginning of the season we're like, oh, Dany's gonna just murder, just clean shop. Now in like 3 episodes, we're all sitting here going like, shit, what the hell's Dany gonna do? Like, she needs to start being nice to Jon, because she's gonna need some allies, because Cersei is just. She robbed everybody's money. She's got everybody on board. All the people in Westeros think that she's like the greatest now. Because did you notice that she also talked about how the accident at the Sept?
Euron's the fucking greatest.
Oh, Jesus. Her and Euron. How about when Euron brings his gift to her and he's like, I want to get married now. And she's like, well, when it's all done, we'll do it.
He's the new guy that you love to hate.
Dude, when he asked Jaime...
No, he is, what's his face on The Walking Dead?
Negan?
What can I say? Yeah, he's Negan. He's Negan from The Walking Dead. You fucking love to hate that motherfucker.
So how about when he tells her that, you know what I want? She's like, you'll get a reward. He's like, well, you know what I want. I want to be your husband. And she's like, well, when we win, you'll get everything you want. And he's like, he's not real thrilled, but then he turns to Jaime and he's like, hey, you're gonna have to tell me how she likes it. She like it rough? She like it soft? Does she like a finger up her bum? And Jaime's like about to murder him dead.
Yeah, then Jaime's like looking, he's like, oh, shh. We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later. Fucking yeah. He's getting eaten by a dragon. I'm calling that shit right now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I was talking to my buddy, and he thinks Theon's going to kill him, which actually would be pretty fitting. But even though Theon is such a... Well, Theon got rescued. That was his one moment, and everybody knew he's a coward.
Theon got pulled out of the water, and they're all like, so you're alive, and you're a big pussy, basically.
Well, they were like... You're alive. He's like, yeah. He goes, what happened to your sister? He's like, he got him. He's like, well, I tried to save him. And they go, if you would have tried to save him, you wouldn't still be alive. And then he's just like,
just lays there. He just lays there on the deck.
You know, even Theon, when he does get it up, he gets a single scene this week, and it's basically just to tell everyone what a loser he is. I mean, that guy, Reek is just. I hope he does one thing in his life that is good. So maybe he will save his sister, or maybe he'll kill Euron.
I think he's forever Reek.
Yeah, he is, but... Anyway, well, I don't know. You got anything else you want to talk about King's Landing, other than the fact that Cersei's a total boss, and nothing is better for her right now than it is right now?
Well, she's paying back to Iron Bank.
No. She's going to pay back the Iron Bank. That leads me to my theory for next week. They still haven't gotten the money yet. I think, because we've seen in the trailers, we've seen Daenerys shooting fucking fire at Lannister troops. That looks like it's kind of on a plane that looks like High Castle. I think, or High Garden, I think next week Daenerys is going to lose her shit because she was like, be a dragon? Fuck this. I'm going to get my dragon. And I think she's going to go melt all the gold.
She's probably going to find out, like, Olena's dead. And she's going to think, you know what? She said, don't be a sheep, be a fucking dragon.
Yeah.
And so she's like, you know what? I'm going to start being a fucking dragon.
Now, it is possible, to your point, that she takes off in a tizzy, and then they're like, God, somebody go after her. Maybe Jon does hop on a dragon. I don't know. Jon is crazy enough to try and hop on a dragon.
Yeah.
And he goes after her. But, it is possible one of her dragons gets taken out by that crossbow, giant crossbow. But here's my theory. I think next week, the whole goal is going to be stop that gold. I don't think anybody's going to get the gold. I think she's going to melt the gold with the dragon.
And I just want to give everyone a quick warning on next week's episode. HBO has been hacked, and the script was stolen, and it has been posted online. So just be careful, like when you're reading like comments on stuff, because they will just post stuff in the comments to try and ruin it for people. So just be aware when you're looking at Game of Thrones stuff for next week's episode. I kind of agree with you. I don't know if she's going to go melted. She's going to go melt something. Yeah, something's going to get fucked up.
I don't know if it's going to end well for her. And like I said, I really feel like something's going to have to happen. And I don't want to say Jon's going to go rescue her, because Daenerys has been able to rescue herself plenty of times. But I think Jon is going to help her in a way that builds that relationship. So that, we only have 10 episodes left, and these two they are going to work together at some point. It's just going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So,
he's going to be, like, leaving on his ship with the dragon glass, and...
Well, she's not going up north until Cersei's dead, right? So, I think it may come to a point where Jon's like, all right, let's just go get her. If this is the only way that's going to help me, let's get her real quick. And before we,
Yeah, but all he's got is himself. He doesn't have an army. He doesn't have anything else. I know,
but he's Jon Snow, right? Shit just happens around him. Like, I don't know. Because he's so, like, blindlessly bold. He just, it's like fortune favors the bold, right? I feel like that's Jon Snow's motto. Fortune favors the bold. I'm just going to go do crazy shit and hope it all works out in the end. But anyway, that's my thought for next week.
Let's see. Winterfell, Arya's coming.
Yeah. Littlefinger.
All right. No. It's going to be the Hound's going to get there first. And then Arya's going to show up. And they're either going to be like, someone's going to die, or they're going to like just be like, all right, you got me, and kind of take it from there.
I would like to point out that my prediction was correct when I said after episode 1, I feel like, or episode 2, when they were all sitting at the table, all the women talking and strategizing. Remember what I said? This will be the last time we see these people together. They're all, and you know what? Sure as shit. There you go. Whenever this show brings that many people together, you never see them together again because half of them are dead.
Yeah. I think Jorah's. I think he's gonna make it to Dragonstone, but he's gonna be too late.
I don't think we're gonna see Jorah for another.
He's gonna be the one person that can't fast travel. And
he's walking.
If only he could be like boop, and like
maybe he'll run into Melisandre. I don't know. He'll probably run into somebody.
I think Sam's gonna stay in the Citadel. I don't think he's going to have anything next episode.
I think we're going to have a Winterfell heavy episode next week. That's why I think we can get some flashbacks.
I think it's going to be Winterfell on the Wall.
I think we're going to see. I think you can see a little bit in King's Landing. I think you're going to continue to see more of Jon, and because this is a Song of Fire and Ice, I think you're going to see more of their relationship continue to build. I think you're going to see Cersei do some crazy shit, or not Cersei, Daenerys do some crazy shit. But I do think it's going to be a Winterfell heavy episode next week because we haven't gotten a ton of Winterfell. And the Starks. But I do think it was one thing that was really important to point out. So think of it this way. All the Targaryens are now at Dragonstone, and all the Starks are all in the same vicinity for the first time on this show.
Well, the Starks and the Two-Eyed Raven.
Yeah. I'm just saying, you're going to have Bran, Arya, and Sansa together at Winterfell, and you're going to have both living Targaryens together at their home in Dragonstone.
And where the fuck is Wolf? Or Ghost?
Ghost is not like just being a ninja. I don't know, he's a ghost. Anyway, unless you got anything else, I think we'll call it a night.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we pretty much, it's going to be Winterfell heavy. Do you have any big guesses? I think Arya's going to kill the Hound.
No, Arya's not. She let him off the list. She's done with the Hound. Arya's going to kill Littlefinger, whether this week or next week, but Littlefinger's time is done. I'm calling that shit right now. I don't think it's a coincidence that the dagger, Littlefinger has the dagger, the cat's claw, the same dagger that was used to try and murder Bran in season 1. Now Bran's back. That dagger's still in the building. I'm telling you, shit's going to happen.
The ghost of Hodor gonna come back and go,
Hodor? How about if Ghost shows up and kills Littlefinger? Just jumps on his head and bites his head off.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That'd be pretty awesome. Alright, anyway. If you guys have any crazy theories, any real theories, or any not so crazy theories, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah.
If you think I'm crazy, or you agree with me that Ryan's completely crazy, please let us know in the comments below, or just DM us, PM us, send us a smoke signal, I don't care. Send us like, we get one of those airplanes and get a message that like goes across. You can get to us that way as well. But anyway, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week on our continual coverage of Game of Thrones.
Goodbye.
The West remembers. Winter is coming, even though it's going to be 110 degrees in Seattle tomorrow.
Stop bitching. It's going to be like that for 4 days.
I'm going to make out with my aunt. It'll be super hot until I find out. And then I'll stand on a cliff and brood for 3 episodes.
It'll be like Luke and Leia.
All right, guys.
Find out.
Until next week.
Bye.